Welcome to the Humans of Hospitality podcast. I know so many of you listening to this show love your local bar, your local restaurant, maybe your local hotel, and have so many fond memories of time in hospitality businesses. This is the podcast where we get to chat to the human beings behind the scenes of that industry. Maybe the chefs or the bakers or the coffee roasters or the gin distillers or the craft brewers or the entrepreneurs, but all doing an amazing job of making sure that hospitality stays interesting and the big, dull, formulaic brands do not take over our high street. Please enjoy the show. In today's conversation, we are going to be chatting to Steve from 8 Arch. 8 Arch is a great craft brewer based in Wimborne in Dorset, and Steve makes some beautiful, beautiful beers. But we're not going to go too heavy into the beer making process itself today, just in case that's not your thing. But we will be talking about some of the big brands in the industry, some of the smaller brands, and fundamentally about Steve's journey and how he went from making some terrible home-brew beers in his garage that not even his friends would consider drinking into making some beautiful award-winning beers that are now available all over the county and quite a bit of the country. I very much hope you enjoy our time together. Please enjoy the show. Steve, just want to say thanks very much for allowing me to come and invade your space.
My
and
pleasure.
also for making the office look so bloody beautiful and warm.
It's not looking its best.
Cozy. It's about -6. Now, you've told me this is warm. But thank you. So obviously this is an audio thing, so other people can't see the salubrious surroundings we're in. Can you just explain where we are and what you do?
At the centre hub of everything that is 8 Arch. No, we're just in my little office. Just at the end of the brewery. We're busy away brewing again today, brewing our coffee oat stout. So we're just in the little office, just going to have a nice little chat.
Perfect. So 8 Arch, fundamentally a brewery named after a bridge. Is that true?
Yeah.
Always been a fan of bridges? Is that a
no?
It's
it's not a thing that I've been a big fan of, I have to admit. It's just a case of when I was starting the brewery, I was struggling with a name.
Right.
And I wanted to start the brewery in Wimborne. I'm from Wimborne.
Okay.
So I wanted it to very much have a link to the town.
Right.
We were going to call it the Wimborne Beer Company, but then I thought there was a bit too much link to the town there. So we tried thinking a bit outside. Yeah. A bit outside the box. And then someone mentioned to me about Julian's Bridge,
right,
which has got 8 arches. And then something just clicked.
Yeah.
We spoke about lots of different places in Wimborne, different bits and pieces, and for some reason that the 8 Arch just stuck.
Okay.
And there was a point with it, and then we went from there with it.
Have you checked? Have you counted them?
Yes.
Okay.
The bridge itself has got 8 arches.
It's factually correct.
Yes.
It's like history as well.
Someone did try and throw a spanner in the works about 12 months into me brewing. When they said, it's got more arches, it's got like 10. I was like, no. And so I did go and check. It has definitely got 8 arches.
I think the brand's got enough legs now because let's say, global warming is a concern, isn't it? Flooding. If they had to put an extra couple of arches on and it became 10 arch.
I don't think I'd change the name of the brewery. I think we keep it. We wouldn't have a brand change because of that. No.
Okay, cool. I think it works. So you've been running about 4 years now? Is that right?
Yeah. End of January in 2019, it'll be 4 years. Physically brewing. Okay.
Has it been as you imagine? Go back 4 years ago when you started. Has it been as you expected? Are you sat where you thought you would be?
No. I mean, I started it with the intention of just me doing it on my own for the local area, making beer and earn a living.
Okay.
There was no grand plans to take over the world. Not that we are, but I didn't plan to move premises, increase capacity, employ people, and it's just been a natural, an organic growth. Right. So no, I didn't expect it to.
Had you run businesses before? Did you know what you were doing?
I started when I left school. I was a HGV mechanic in trucks. Fully qualified and all of that, and then I left to join my family's transport company in Poole. And the whole idea was that I'd take over the running of the company. So I had a very good basic business learning from my dad.
Right. Okay.
He was a very basic business accounting person, but it's a good base for me to start.
You got exposed to numbers and employees and not just spanners and engines.
No. And it was a great grounding for me. Then it allowed me to hit the ground running on the business side of things with this as well. So, I'd imagine there's a lot of breweries out there, they just go into to make beer and then don't really look at the business side of things, which to have any successful business, you need to have a good business grounding, I feel, or
absolutely.
Someone there to help you anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So why the change then? You were supposed to take over the family transport business. What happened?
We our biggest customer were bought out, and they moved their distribution, which was in Blandford. We were loading out of Blandford, and they moved it all to the Midlands. So that was 95% of our work. And from when my dad started the company in '93, the landscape of road haulage had changed so much to 2013. Right. We had pallet networks everywhere, cutting the cost of the prices for the pallets to be delivered and everything. And it was just such hard work to just try and get work.
So you weren't disappointed then, having kind of moved jobs and said, I'll come and take over the family firm. And then it wasn't there anymore.
I was slightly disappointed. My dad was a bit upset with it because obviously he built the company from nothing for 20 years.
Okay.
So it was a sad day, but I said to him recently, were you sad about it? He goes, I was sad for like 6 months. He said, but I'm over it now, and we made the right decision with it, which enabled me to obviously come and do this.
And sometimes you need a catalyst, don't you, to kind of go on to the next thing. So clearly...
I could still be sat in a freezing cold porter cabin. Instead, we're sat in a freezing cold office. I could be sat in a freezing cold porter cabin in Poole, messing with trucks and drivers. But instead of that, I'm sat in an office with the brewery.
With beer. Do you prefer it?
I wouldn't change it. Really? Would not change it for the world. Love it. Absolutely love it. The industry is great. Like I was saying to you earlier, that I was at an event yesterday, the Brewers Congress, and it's just great to be in and around such great people in the industry. So no, I would not change it for the...
It seems to have changed, I don't know, particularly over the last few years. I mean, you go back in time in the UK particularly, and probably globally, there were just, thousands of small producers and small brewers. And it seems to be in the last few years that we're getting that resurgence. And there are so many kind of interesting, cool breweries cropping up. Have you noticed that change? Do you feel like you're in a kind of a thriving, fairly? It's not a young industry. It's clearly an old industry. But does it feel like it's young again and got this kind of youthful, kind of slightly rebellious thing going on, taking on the big guys? Or? Yeah,
it's great. I mean, like I said, there was never any intention for me when I started it that I wanted to go, right, I'm going to take on the big boys or whatever. It's just I was just going to make beer. Yeah. But it was quite an interesting. Yesterday at the talks that I was at, there was the founder of Brooklyn Brewery in New York, Garrett Oliver, and I can't remember how he exactly said it, but it just resonated a little bit with me when he said that it's something along the lines of, this is not new. No. What we are all doing is not new. It's just a return to normality. Yeah, true. Because there was. I didn't realise the history of the American. I know we're going a bit off track here, but
no, it's great.
I didn't realise the history.
There is no tracks.
I didn't realise there was the history of the American brewers and how they got closed down, and then they were just all basically force-fed this cheap lager, and they were made to believe by branding, marketing by the big companies that this was beer, right? And then when smaller brewers started brewing again, people were going, what's this? And it's like, actually, this is what beer was before the Prohibition. Yeah. When they all got wiped out. This is what it was before. So and the point he was trying to make is that we're not doing anything new. Yeah. This is what it was before, but we're just reintroducing people to it. So it resonated a little bit with me. Good. Yesterday. But yeah, no, like I said, I just wanted to make beer for the local area, and it's gone from there. Really.
Okay, I think it's the same in food. It's like now there seems to be this thing that we want to buy organic food, or we want to kind of put certain labels on food, and it kind of like when did it get to the point where we needed to do that? Food used to just be food, didn't it? And we just grew it well, nutritiously from the ground, and now we've got so much kind of chemical and process and big farming approach to it that we feel the need to kind of like go, this food over here is special. And you're like, well, actually, it's the rest of the food that's a bit weird, you know?
Yeah, and again, there was another point. I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but Garrett Oliver again from Brooklyn Brewery, he was talking about the plastic cheese, as in the sliced cheese.
Yeah, stick it on your burger.
Yeah, and he was just like, it's all plastic. He's like, I can guarantee you, it doesn't taste of cheese.
No,
and it's I think that people are more wary of what they're eating, drinking nowadays. I don't think it's because it's been forced on the organic side of things. It's not been forced on people. I just think people have become more wary, more healthy. I know beer's not necessarily a healthy product, but I think people care more about what they're buying.
Yeah.
And if they have to pay a little bit more for a product like from someone like us, they know that they're getting a good, consistent quality product.
Yeah.
It's not, you could go to any of the supermarkets and buy one of the big branded lagers. I saw in the supermarket the other day, 24 cans of a certain lager for £11.
Wow.
And
really?
it's
God.
and they're 440ml cans or 500ml cans, I can't remember, and it's just so mass produced. But there's a market for that, and there are people that will drink that type of
How does
beer.
it make you feel when you see, somebody selling beer at that kind of price?
Carry on.
Does it?
Because we're not there to make that type of beer.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford to sell beer at that price.
Yeah.
There's a market, like there's a market for the plastic cheese and the mature, well-made locally cheddar.
Yeah.
There's a market for both. There will be people that want to buy the cheaper branded products, and there'll be people that have a feeling that they need to and want to buy the more locally produced.
Yeah. So
produce.
why do you think there's been that change? Because again, it does feel a shift, not just in beer, but we've seen it in kind of gins, we've seen it in food. Why do people seem to all of a sudden care more about where stuff's coming from and what they're putting in their bodies?
I don't know. It's a good question. I think just people care a bit more about their bodies now, whereas you go back, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, it would just be, we'll have anything. I think nowadays people care about, obviously there's an awful lot more health conscious, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
I just think that the people care what.
I think, maybe there's an educational element to it, I suppose, in the fact we just know more. Maybe we didn't know what was going in the food. I don't know when it happened. I don't know when food all of a sudden, turned from, something that was food to being something that looked like plastic and was kind of wrapped up on a supermarket shelf. I think it was pre our time on planet Earth. And then all of a sudden we started going, hang on, this is a bit weird, isn't it?
A big part of it is all down to marketing as well.
Yeah.
I think, you get the big national multi-branded companies. They've got money that they can just throw at anything, and people see it and they're attracted to it and they want to buy it. And it's all targeted marketing.
So again, I think that we're now seeing that again in the beer sector and in the food sector, where the big breweries are kind of, they're seeing this word craft and kind of, hops and IPAs and stuff. Are you noticing that some of the big players are pretending to be, little craft players?
Well, there's a lot of bigger brewers buying smaller brewers completely, or a proportion of them. Yeah. And I think it's down to they're worried about it. I mean, someone like us, we're never going to be competing against a Heineken or anyone like that.
Yeah.
But I think that
you say that now. I'm going to look forward to interviewing you in 10 years' time, Steve, and go.
I'm not selling shares in the company.
You bought Heineken, and
I think they're concerned.
Yeah, they're
not about me.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
And that's why they're investing, and then you're getting they're bringing out more. I don't like to use the word craft a lot, but they're bringing out more craft focused beers to try and hit the market, and they're selling them at that slightly cheaper price as well. So they're packaged like a really cool craft beer, but they're actually a Heineken.
Yeah. Does that irritate you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does me. I mean, in my industry, the hotel originally, we were a boutique hotel, and the idea of a boutique hotel was it was small. The word boutique, it's little, and it was all about 5-star kind of quality, but in a small place, just 12 bedrooms. And then all of a sudden, there was a 150 bedroom hotel that opened in town that was called a boutique hotel, and I was hang on,
that's not
you
boutique.
Can't be, and it's the same. Surely you'd like to think. The trouble is there's no kind of legal classification for boutique, and I presume it's the same in craft. Is there? Anybody can use the word, I suppose.
It's not copyrighted or anything. It's anyone can use it, but there's public are a lot more understanding, and they understand the word craft. They understand a good quality product, but there are people out there that don't understand it and are led by marketing, and they get into the craft beer bubble, and then as soon as they see something with craft written on, they're like, oh, that's definitely going to be craft. But it's not like that. And it's like you were saying about the boutique hotel. It just because it's got boutique written on it doesn't mean it's boutique.
No.
It's the same with the beer. If it's got craft written on it, it doesn't necessarily mean it's craft.
Yeah, so I get nervous for the sector because I think the big players get more and more savvy all the time. You used to be able to walk into a chain pub, and actually they used to celebrate the fact they were chain pubs. It would all be branded the same, it would all look the same, and then I think they got a little bit nervous. Hang on, are all these little guys kind of opening up, and places are getting a bit more hip, and these kind of bit of a reputation, and then they've got deep pockets, so they can go out and get some interior designers. And I know a few, again, local pubs that you walk into now, and because I'm in the industry, I know who owns them, who's behind it, and it's a big chain. But you look at it, and they've got the funky filament light bulbs and the brick walls, and there's no sign of any brand anywhere. And it's probably not until you order the food and go, oh, it's a little bit of shit, that you kind of realise, oh, this is a chain. Okay. So what worries me with that is because they've got such deep budgets. Is how do we keep competing? And do you get concerned that they will just kind of like they've realised what's going on in the beer sector and they'll respond and cause a problem, or are you fairly chill on that?
I'm fairly chill because
you're just a fairly chilled human.
Well, I try to be. I don't think it would affect us personally. No. We're never going to be one of the bigger craft breweries. We're never going to be a Beavertown. We're never going to be. I'm just trying to think of another one. A Camden Town who sold the whole brewery a few years back. We're always going to be small. So I'm not saying I don't keep an eye on it, but it's not. I'm not worried about it. Good. Personal.
Yeah, no, good.
Because they do what they do, and we're doing what we're doing on a smaller scale, and we're doing great.
Yeah,
with selling to the local community and a bit of wholesale on our first export order recently. So we're never going to be on the same level of that. So as far as I'm concerned, they can keep doing what they're doing.
Yeah, and you'll keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason for launching this podcast is to say, look, I'm nervous about it, but I'm not pessimistic about it. I actually think we can take them on. The little guys can take on the battle really, really well. But I think to do that, it's about education. It's getting people to understand about that thing, about looking a little bit more. Don't just believe the packaging and the words that you see, but kind of try and look in behind the scenes. And it's that humans of hospitality. It's like, who are the human beings? Fundamentally, I think humans love buying from humans rather than big brands. We love to know the people behind it. Hopefully people will get to know you and they'll still buy your beer, Steve, even when they know you better. And that's the kind of point. It's that educational awareness thing, I think. So beer specifically, do you remember your first beer? Do you remember what it was and what you thought of it? Did you love it or hate it?
I seem to remember my first ever beer was probably when I was about. I didn't have the whole thing because I was underage. But I remember my dad giving me a bottle of Newcastle Brown Ale.
Lovely. Start at the top.
Oh, that was probably when I was about
Newky Brown.
13, 14, around that.
It's big then, wasn't it?
But I didn't know it was beer. It's like, this is great. But then when I become legal age to drink, I was always drinking lager. Yeah. Because that's what my friends drank.
Okay.
And then about a couple years, so probably when I was about like 2021, I found real ale.
Right.
It's like, what's that people drinking over there? The old men in the corner drinking this thing. Found it, and it's just like an explosion of flavours compared to the big, boring lagers.
Yeah.
And then, that's what started me on my trail.
So how long ago was that? Yeah, you were 21. What's supposed to be 6 months ago now, is it?
You're too kind.
Yeah.
No, that would have been, hang on. So early 2000s. So
Okay, fine.
you're sort of like 2004, around that sort of area, which is when I found cask beer.
Okay. So you liked it, you drank it, you
Yeah.
went, there's a lovely flavour. And then what made you think about brewing your own? Was the trigger the business, or were you doing it anyway as a hobby?
No, I think it was, I think I basically just wanted to make cheap beer. And it was at the start of you were seeing like movement. This probably, I'm trying to think when this would have been, probably like late 2000s, so probably 2009, 2010. I can't remember what I saw about home brewing, but then there's all these crafty beers becoming available, and it's like, what's this all about? So I just literally bought a homebrew kit. They're awful. I don't. Have you ever done homebrewing?
No.
It was basically they're an extract kit, so it's just two big pots of malt extract, which is looks like treacle.
Yeah.
Which you just have to warm up a little bit, pour it in a bucket, pour the water in, sprinkle the yeast on.
Okay.
Then a week later, you put it into bottles with some sugar, and
10 years later, you buy Heineken. Bloody hell, sounds easy. I'm going to do this.
That happens. And then I was trying the beers. It's like try and convince yourself they were great when they weren't. They were awful.
Okay.
And then I quickly progressed on to a small homebrew kit on the scale of what we've got now. So an all grain kit, reading books. Online, looking on the internet, and just taught myself really in my garage.
So you mentioned then an all grain kit. That's the difference from the treacle kit.
We'll call it the treacle kit.
You've got the treacle kit, and the step up from that is the all grain. Not that I want to go too geeky, but fundamentally, the treacle thing wasn't selling it. Let's go up from there.
It's extract, malt extract, with the yeast in, and then you go to all grain, which is where you weigh out the malt, the salts to go into the water. You have to hit the right mash temperature. This is me. I'm not going to go into details about it, but it's you have to mash to extract the sugars from the malt before it goes into the kettle to be boiled with the hops. Right. And it was a 50 litre kit, so I was producing 20 litre batches. Okay. Just at home. Some were bad, some were good, and then they got better as I progressed.
And you were doing that at home just to supply your mates, or this is just for
me.
yourself, just for you?
Yeah,
20 litres at a time. What would that? How long would that last? You'd get through a weekend.
Oh God, it would last me weeks. A good few weeks. My friends, they were always a bit
polite.
No, they were just like, no, I don't want to drink it.
We'd rather go to the pub.
They just didn't sort of turn their nose up at it because it's something that I'd made in my garage, and they just weren't keen on it. Yeah. But
So how do you go from all your mates telling you this is a bit of shit, Steve, let's just go to the pub, to I'm going to do this for a living?
I just don't listen to them. No, because of the transport company.
Okay. So you were doing it in conjunction, but as a hobby.
Yeah, it wasn't with no intention. When I started doing it, I didn't even think about starting a brewery. It was just brewing beer at home. Then obviously the transport company, we were going to close that. I knew that was coming. So I was like, right, what do? I'd had job offers in the transport industry to be managers of places, and it's just
pilot. No. Damn.
I don't want to be in this industry anymore. So what shall I do? I just went on a brewing course up in Sunderland. I did a couple courses up there.
And that was the first point where you thought, maybe I could do this commercially.
The first course I went on up there was a startup in brewing. So it was like a 4-day course overview, and it was. I was going to come away from that and know whether I wanted to do it or not. And then I'm up there. I met the guy who supplied my brew kit.
Right.
Here now. I knew that's what I wanted to do.
On the course, you decided, right, I'm going to give this a bash.
Yeah. And I was fortunate enough. I had a guy who has been with me from day one. He's like a bit of a mentor to me, a friend of my wife. And we were just putting numbers together at the start. We didn't know what we could sell beer for. We didn't know how much we could sell. And we wrote it all down on a bit of paper. And he said, if this doesn't add up, I'm going to tell you not to be so stupid and walk away from it. Okay. And the numbers that we worked out worked. And
literally back of an envelope kind of.
It was literally on the back of an envelope, just rough numbers.
Best business plans always start that way.
And and he's still with me now. Yeah. He helps me out all the time. And then we just found a unit in Wimborne. I wanted it to be in Wimborne. Found the unit next door, which we've still got now. And the brew kit was installed in January 2015, and we went.
Cool.
Off we
And
went.
that first batch of beer you made, how was it?
Yeah, I mean, they were. I did 3 prototypes. I think it was 3 prototypes. They've got the first ever bowl behind you, actually, that I bottled on the shelf up there.
Oh, wow.
So that's a bit of a memento.
We're not going to drink that.
No, I wouldn't drink it. And then we've got all my old homebrew books up there as well, actually. So they're still here. They're still here, and you never stop learning. But the first few beers, they went fine.
Because that would have been a key time, and you make a few beers and go, they're actually a bit shit. That would have been tricky, wouldn't it?
Well, you don't know what to expect.
No,
you know,
but they were all right. You didn't have to pour them away.
Nope. They all sold. And I always thought to myself, with the kit, I mean, it was about 6 months in. I seem to remember walking into the brewery one day, looking at these massive, big 1,000 litre fermenters in the brew kit, and thinking to myself, why did I ever not second guess and doubt myself about this? It's literally, it must have been right for me to do it. The kit turned up and I brewed.
Wow.
And it was
amazing.
It was just like second nature.
That presumably is not always the case. Have you made any crap beer?
We've well,
not that you've sold.
That's up to the public's perception.
But I mean, have you had any batches? Does it go wrong sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, we're approaching our 300th brew. I think we're on about brew 282 today.
Yeah.
So we're approaching our 300th brew, but I think over the almost 4 years, we've chucked away definitely 2 beers, possibly 3. And that was, I can't remember what they were down to. There was a yeast problem with one of them.
Right.
It was, when I say it's nothing to do with what we did, the brew itself was fine. It was just factors afterwards.
And how do you know? That's a taste thing?
I mean, there was one
have
batch.
to have a pint.
There was one batch and it just smelled of rotten eggs.
Right.
And what that was, I still don't know. We didn't get it tested. We just chucked it down the drain. And then, so we haven't had to chuck many away.
Amazing.
Luckily.
So how do you, and how do you know, is it literally a case of tasting each batch of beer yourself, or is there some chemistry behind it? What decides, your palate or your instruments?
As if the beer's okay or not.
Yeah, and if you're happy with it, because, I know you're a big fan of consistency, and you've said before about, if you're going to be known for a certain beer, you want to make sure that every time somebody has that beer, it's always
it's the thing whether you have, I know we're going to the multinational brand now, but if you have a pint of I'm trying to think of a beer now, Ringwood Best, it's probably changed a little bit over the years since Marston bought them, but people know what they're going to get. If you have a pint of Doom Bar, not that I drink these beers, but
of course not.
I
only ever drink your beers.
Do
you only ever eat in my restaurants?
Yes, that's true.
You haven't eaten anything this morning, have you? I haven't seen you for a few days. You must be starving.
People who are drinking that, they want to know what they're going to be getting. And I suppose it's the same if you have a Big Mac from McDonald's. People go there because they know, yes, it's a bit cheaper, but they know what they're going to be getting. It's the consistency. So bringing it back down onto our scale, one thing that we've been told a lot is that our beer is consistent, and that's the whole point. I mean, you don't want to have a pint of our IPA last week and it's like, oh yeah, it's amazing, and then you have another pint of it this week and it tastes completely different, because what's the point of that? The whole point of having a core range of beers is that the buyer, the publican, knows that it's going to sell. They know what that beer is going to be, and they know that it's going to sell. So it is all about consistency.
So how confident can you be? As long as you follow the same recipe in essence and the same process, you can be pretty confident it will come out the same? Or are there nuances where each one, you kind of need to give it a whiff, tweak it a bit?
You always have to check. I mean, people are shocked when I say that I don't drink our beer.
Yeah.
I don't actively take our beer home and drink it. Yes, I sample it, but I don't drink it.
That's changed from the early days. That's the whole point that you started this business, so you could drink your beer.
That's what happens when you become a business.
Why is that then?
Because I think that if I drank it all the time, say Coolboy IPA, that if something changed, I wouldn't be able to pick it up.
Okay.
So that's why I don't drink it. I mean, yes, I will have a pint of it every now and then, but if I drank it all the time,
you haven't replaced it water with it or whatever. You've not. Yeah.
But there's things that change in brewing that are out of your control. New crop of hops, even though it's labelled as the same hop year to year, there will be slight differences.
Yeah.
It's not going. probably to the public, they won't notice a change, but there will be slight changes. The alpha acids changed, because it might have been a good crop year or a bad crop year. Malt changes. You get different nitrogen levels in the malt. The water, we use the mains water here, and we treat the water. We always, we're always checking the pH of the water. It changes. So there's so many different factors in brewing.
This is why I love this industry, right? It's because I don't think anybody can get that level of sort of geek knowledge on all of the different nuances in any product.
Sounds quite sad, don't I?
No, I think it's brilliant. I genuinely love it, and it's the same. I can sit down with our coffee supplier. I tell the story of the egg guy quite a lot. I remember this guy, coming in, Dave, and he came into my business and he said, Mark, he said, you should buy my eggs. He said, but the key thing you need to know is that you poach the eggs in spring and in autumn. He said, and then in the summer or in winter, fry them or scramble them. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, your happy hens lay the best eggs. So he's like, he said, hens don't like this. You're glad we're doing this.
Yeah,
now,
it does.
This is a high point of your day.
Really?
Happy hens lay the best eggs. Hens don't like to be too hot and they don't like to be too cold. So they lay the best eggs in autumn and in spring when they're at the perfect temperature. And, the best eggs for poaching are the quality eggs. And from that moment, I was like, wow, anybody who knows that much about his hens and how happy they are and the impact it has on the eggs. And you find that, you're that with beer, other guys with coffee, all these incredible people. And this is why I want to kind of celebrate this industry and why I want to get people to kind of, buy from the little guy, because these people genuinely, passionately love, what they do and have this incredible knowledge. So we don't need to, because the average, Joe Blow's public, there's no way you can be a specialist in every single area of everything you do. And the same with the farmers and the amount of love they put into whether it's rearing their animals or rearing the crops. So no, I think it's bloody brilliant.
I know.
When I walked in this morning, the place smells amazing. I don't think it was you.
No, definitely not me.
What was that? And do you still appreciate that? Do you walk in every day and kind of go, can you just recognise what hops you're using or what's going on in the brewery because of how it smells?
Yeah, I mean, like when you mentioned it when you walked in, how it smelled amazing. And I've got a thing. Obviously, most of our beers are the pale, hoppier beers, but today we're brewing our coffee oat stout, and there's just something about the smell of the darker malts. You get the coffee, you get the chocolate. It's just an amazing smell.
It does smell incredible. It's going to be torture for anybody listening, isn't it? But it's quite cold outside. It's a storm kind of come over. It's like when you walk into the pub and there's a log burner on and you can smell the beer and
absolutely.
stuff. You just walk in and straight away it's kind of, I don't know, it makes you feel amazing.
There's something, like I said, most of our beers are pale, but when you do a dark beer like that, there is just something special about a dark beer and the smell that it gives off, again, like the coffee and the chocolates and the maltiness. It's great, absolutely great. I mean, I'm not a dark. There's a lot of people that drink dark beers in the winter, paler beers, hoppier beers in the summer. I'll drink dark beers in the summer and I'll drink pale beers in the winter. I'm not fussed, but there is something, like you mentioned, about coming in on a cold, stormy day and smelling that coffee and the chocolate from the malt. It's amazing, absolutely amazing.
Good. So to finish off your little geeky bit, do you have a favourite bit of the beer making process? Is there a bit in the whole journey where you go, yes, this is a good day today, we're doing this? Is it the till? No, I know it's not. I'm kidding.
No, it's not. I think for me, when we're always striving to make the best beer possible that we can, so whether it be a new beer or whether it be one of our core beers, we always tinker little bits. You won't notice it, but we're always just trying to make it that little bit better, and you never stop. We never stop with it. And I think the biggest satisfaction for me is when you try one of your beers and it's that moment where it's just like, damn, that's good. Right. And it's that moment that you've taken a sort of 8 hours to brew it, and it's taken 5 to 7 days to ferment, and then you've dry hopped it and you've chilled it down, and then you take it out the fermenter, and it's just that moment of going, yeah, we've got something. That's the point where I'm at, where it's just everything is good then. That's
good, yeah. And does it still excite you? Are you ever nervous at that point? Because presumably you could try it and go, it's okay, we didn't nail it. Or do you feel excited? It's kind of like, how's this going to be?
Every time I go to try one of the beers out of the ferment, I'm always excited by it. Really? I hope I never lose that.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's always a tinge of nervousness because, I mean, we've done, I wouldn't say weird and wacky, but we've done different beers this year. We've done a couple of collaborations with Elusive from up near Reading. We did the Ice Cream Pale series. Okay. So there was lactose, fruit.
Wow.
And it would absolutely, I mean, it could have gone completely wrong.
And you don't know for 10 days.
Well, no. You know, you brew the base beer, then you add the fruit and the lactose goes into the kettle as well. Then we add vanilla packaging, and it I don't blow our own trumpet, but it absolutely was awesome. The first batch, the Raspberry Ripple. Yeah, it was, and it got such a lot of love as well. I mean, I don't actually look at the online forums for craft beer that often, but we were all over there. It was all about this beer. It was like sort of bit of a lift off for us.
Nice.
And then recently we were part of, again, it was something to do with Elusive again. It was Collabogeddon. We had 10 breweries around the UK brew a beer with each other, home and away, and then the 10 beers were put on at 20 bars around the UK, all on the same night. So we had Bexar County from Peterborough down here, and we brewed a white stout. So we had loads of coffee beans, cacao nibs, tonka beans in there, and it could have gone completely wrong. To be honest with you, at the start, we overdid it a little bit with the tonka beans. So it was
easily done with a tonka bean.
Oh, it was quite powerful. It was very powerful, but then it mellowed out. We just left it. It's like, do you know what? Let's just give this one time. Right. Give it time. And bear in mind that the beer had to be out because it was going to this event. We didn't have time to rebrew it.
Okay.
So it's just like, no, let's just leave it. And yeah, it turned out absolutely awesome. Nice. Absolutely awesome. So yeah, there's always a tinge of nervousness because when you're doing, I mean, it's a bit different when you're doing the beers that we're always brewing because we know what it's going to be pretty much. But when you're doing a new beer like that, it's a bit like,
that's good. That's where the buzz comes from, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of nervousness.
So we were chatting earlier about, just how busy you are, which is amazing. It's a great story. You've already had to move into bigger premises. You're talking again about, how you expand further. Do you ever feel, overwhelmed by it or lose your focus or kind of, panic, or is it been just a pretty, even trajectory?
Well, like I said earlier, it's been organic growth.
Yeah.
And things have just happened that they've almost sort of fell into our lap a little bit. But then I guess that's down to, again, like I said, I don't blow our own trumpet, but I guess that's down to the consistency and quality of our beer that people keep coming onto us for beer to sell it.
You seem pretty calm. Does it stress you out? Do you have a lot of sleepless nights?
No. I mean, I'm fortunate to have a great guy with me, Mark.
Yeah.
Who, he takes a lot of the pressure off me. And it's great having someone by my side who, when I do have those moments where I take a wobble, he just slaps me and tells me to shut up and go back in the office. So, and it just works fine. And, our tap room here every Friday, I'm shocked every week that people keep coming down. I'm so grateful that people do keep coming down here. But it's like, it's going to be quieter this week. And then people just still keep turning up. Again, it must be down to the quality. And
it's your personality,
well,
Steve.
And the beer. The beer. It's not all about me.
No, it is good.
So,
it has got an awesome reputation that, I know people who come down on a Friday and you're stuck out the way. It's not like you're on a high street, is it?
No.
So people are deliberately making the effort to come over.
Absolutely. I mean, I left last Friday. I left about 7:00. I had to go. And I was amazed because normally I'm in here, in behind the bar in the tap room. And because I left early, I went outside and never normally see it. Cars everywhere.
Wow.
It was just, and it gives you a little nice warm feeling inside
exciting.
That it's something that I've created.
Yeah.
And it's not become a monster, far from it, but it is what it is now,
great.
and it's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
I'm the same with the restaurant on the beach, and you think, well, any idiot can fill a restaurant on the beach on a nice sunny day in August, but in February on a Tuesday night when it's lashing it down with rain and windy outside, and the wood burner might be on, and there's a guy strumming a guitar in the corner, and you look around the restaurant and there's 40 or 50 people in there. That's more of a buzz than when there's 300 or 400 people in there in the summer, because you know those people, you can't even see the sea. You know, they've got wet and cold walking down there, but they're there because of the ambience.
You don't take it for granted,
never,
but it's
never.
in
So
summertime. It's there. It's easy, almost.
100%. Yeah, but yeah, it's a good buzz. It's exciting. So you know, there might be people listening who also love craft beer or the hospitality industry in general. Do you ever kind of hear any really bad advice for people in the industry where you kind of go like, don't listen to that, that's nonsense? Or just in life in general, anything kind of that you've heard where you go, look, I've been doing this now, ignore that?
Well, I mean, I don't know it all. As like I said earlier, you never ever stop learning. And there's people at the talks I was at yesterday, you know, they've been brewing. You had John Keeling, who was the ex head brewer from Fuller's. He was there for 30 odd years, I think, as head brewer. And he made the point yesterday, you never stop learning in this, because things change, trends change, you know, people's tastes change. So you don't try and follow the trends, but you know, the beer world has changed since I started.
Really?
With, you know, the flavors and the hops, there's always new malts coming available, there's always new hops coming available, there's always new yeast becoming available. So like I said to you earlier, if you stand still, you're going backwards. So you can't stand still. You've always got to try and evolve. But then when you're saying about advice, you know, I'll give advice to people who home brewers come in here, and I'll give them advice. I'm not saying it's the right advice. It's what I do, and it's what I think is the right thing to do. But then that next man might be like, well, that's not the right thing to do. And I think that's what's quite cool about brewing, is that no one's actually right.
Yeah.
There will be people out there who think they are. And that is the way you do it. And there is no other way of doing it. But obviously there are ways of brewing beer that is the way you do it. And there is no changing that. But practices and, you know, how you sparge, you know, how you wash the water, the liquor out for the boil, how you boil, where you put the hops in. No one's wrong, no one's right. Everyone's got their own way of doing it. But when you look on the forums and you see on the Brewers forums and some of the things that people are putting on there and asking questions about, sometimes you look at it, and me and Mark will talk about it, and if they're asking those type of questions, what are they doing brewing beer?
Right.
Because it's quite a simple, and I'm not going to say what they were, but yeah, sometimes you see questions and they're like, how do I do this? And it's like, you're putting this on a brewing forum for brewers, right, and you're making yourself look an idiot. Yeah. And it's like, again, no one's wrong, no one's right, but there's some questions that are just simple.
I think it's an exciting time to be alive in that way, in the fact that, you know, the abundance of information that's out there, it just blows my mind. You know, education used to be about who you knew and money and access, and now, you know, globally, really, and we're very privileged to obviously, you know, live in a Western place. But I don't know, was it something like, you know, 2 billion people connected by smartphone already, and it'll be 5 billion in the next kind of 3 years. All of that access to information. There's no excuse now, is there? Like you say, you know, like go out, at least work out the basics. The information's there. Yeah. Do some reading and find it. But an exciting time to open a business, because you can access.
Yeah, with whatever business you may be in, hospitality, brewing, whatever, you know, there is an encyclopedia of information on the internet now. Yeah. And, you know, it might not always be the right information, but there is information everywhere, and you just got to find it.
So as you get busier and busier, and your beer starts to sell out in advance, have you noticed, just again, you know, as a business person as well as a brewer, have you had to get better at saying no to stuff, or?
It's in sales
or anything really? Just in, you know, do you get asked for a lot of your time? I mean, you are exceptionally busy, but you come across as pretty chilled. Well, how is that? Are you good at saying no to stuff, or do you just keep saying yes, and then find a way? Not just sales related, just life.
Well, I hate sales. I hate people phoning me with sales. Electricity one's one of the worst ones. But
daily.
I've never been a keen salesperson, but I had to. You know, when you start a brewery, you've got to be a salesperson. We employ someone now to do that, so I don't have to do that now, luckily. But I'm a bit of a nightmare for time management, definitely. Okay. And my wife, she says to me, she's like, you just sort it out. And, you know, your time management. Why are you doing that when you could be doing that? That's more important. So I sort of take if I've got piles of paperwork all over my desk, like it is a bit now, and I'll be like, right, I've got to do that job, and then I'll be sat there starting it, then it's like, well, actually, that doesn't need to be done, and that actually needs to be done, so I'll get on and do the other thing. So I am learning to time manage a lot better.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm quite a chilled out guy. I don't stress out really. Like I said, if I do have a wobble, Mark just slaps me. And then
fundamentally, I suppose you're making beer rather than working in A&E, aren't you? So
yeah. But turning people down, I mean, it's not being tactical at all with the sales. It's the fact that we've got orders in place for January already, and it's just we know our process of brewing. We know how long beer A will take, beer B will take. So then it's like people come like, oh, can we have some beer? So, well, we're not going to have it for another couple of weeks, but we'll have beer A, B, and C ready to go that week. So do you want to pre-order? So we are now at the point of pre-orders for our beers, which is again great.
Yeah, good problem to have. So what's next then? What's
World
the plan?
domination.
Yeah, apart from the idea that we came up with buying Heineken, so I'm obviously cut in on that now. But yeah,
5%.
Yeah, fine. As long as you don't make me drink it. Just kidding. My marketing guy will have a heart attack. I'm not allowed to mention brands. But yeah, do you think you'll carry on expanding? Are you happy with the level you're at now? Would you ever move out of Wimborne to another bridge town? No. Salisbury.
It's too far.
I don't even know if they've got a bridge. Let's not start there.
Let's not go down that
search
route. On the internet. There's a world of information on the internet.
Where could you go? You need 15 arches because you're going to get busier.
No, I wouldn't ever. I mean, I'm very happy at the point I am now. But again, it's the point this time last year when we knew we were moving into the unit we're in now next door. I was like, well, that's going to be it. The extra 2 fermenters. And then 3 months ago, we got a double fermenter for us, so a 2,000 litre fermenter. It's like, right, okay. And then, we bought a canning line at the start of the year to move all of our beers into cans. And we tripled the amount of small pack that we've done last year to this year. So we're going to be touching 50,000 cans filled this year, all here on site. So where do we go from here? Honestly, I don't know. I'm happy with where we are at the moment, but could we go a bit more? Yes. One thing I would never ever do is crowdfund. I'm not a fan of the crowdfunding platform. Why? It doesn't sit right with me. People taking money from people. Then it might not work. I mean, there's breweries out there with crowdfunding that aren't going to go wrong. The money's going to be safe for the investor, but I just don't. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it with what the company, the brewery, is making. Okay. So to reinvest, I don't hardly take any money from the company. All of the money that comes in goes back into reinvesting. We bought the canning line, we bought the extra fermenters, we're in the bigger unit. So. Yeah.
You know what? That makes you sound like a great investment. There'll be more people wanting to invest in you because you don't want it, because it's clearly, you can
find our telephone number on the internet. Give me a call.
Everybody ringing, going, Steve, I've got £500,000 and I'd love to buy you a bigger brewery. But that's not crowdfunding. That's just one guy, right? So that's fine. That's not a crowd, is it? When does it become a crowd?
Over 5?
Okay, great. So if there's less than 5 people with some cash, the next thing you'd need though is presumably people. I mean, you need more space and
we'd be all right here. Space. I mean, we could fit more fermenters in here, no problem at all. But then it does get up to more staff, which means more wages. And then where does it go from there?
Yeah. Well, don't slow down too much, because your beer is genuinely awesome, so people should drink it, and therefore, making more is a good thing. We don't want to not be able to get hold of it, Steve. So,
I know.
But
I know.
I think it's always the challenge, isn't it? And getting too big, and that's why. Again, this sector is exciting because you can come into it really small scale. Like, what did you need money to set up wise when you bought your first kit? What was the investment?
I mean, from when I was starting out doing the training and buying the books and everything, I was keeping the receipts and keeping track of everything. If I was driving to go and do a brew day with a brewery to help them out, I'd be doing mileage, and so it's all gone into a pot. Right. A director's loan. So the physical cost for starting the brew kit was about because we had 3 fermenters at the start. I think to have the brew kit and the fermenters and have it installed, I think it was in around the £60,000 mark.
Okay, so it's a decent chunk of investment, but it's not a bonkers amount.
But
is
when I was looking for equipment, I didn't know what I was looking. I wanted a brew kit, and there was a few options out there. Some that are cheap, some that are medium, and the kit that I've probably got is medium to high.
Yeah.
But I spent the money, and it's built to last.
Yeah.
It's not going to go wrong. And there's some kits out there that are shocking, and people buy them. They're a third of what I would have paid for the same size kit, but they're a year, 2 years down the line, they're done.
Rubbish.
They're finished.
Yeah.
So we've been going with the original. We've got the original brew kit. We've got the original 3 fermenters still, which are nearly 4 years old, and they're still going as strong as they were day one.
Okay. And can you finance that sort of kit, or you just ploughing your money back in, or can you actually kind of get it
to grow again?
They're big assets basically. So can you put them on hire purchase and sort of pay them off over a couple of years?
Yeah. Well, the new double fermenter, that's financed.
Right.
So we've got that. That's the first ever finance.
Over how long?
3 years.
3 years.
Which it's going to earn its money back in no time. But I was saying before, I was given a very good business grounding by my dad.
Yeah.
He didn't like to finance things. He was very much old school.
Okay.
If we haven't got the money, we're not buying it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's there. But we've just bought a new van, which was paid for outright.
Brilliant.
with the company's money. And about 2 weeks after, I was like, oh, I wish I financed it.
Really?
It's just like the cash flow thing. But then with the cash flow started coming back, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But
it's that eternal challenge, isn't it? Loss is a cancer, cash flow is a heart attack. You just got to keep cash in the business, basically.
Keep it flowing, it flowing. So I think if we were to do anything else, we're looking at getting a bigger canning line. And that would be in excess of £50,000.
Okay.
So I would probably finance that
from a small group, not a crowd.
No,
Okay.
I don't know how we do it.
I'm just kidding.
Cool. We'll see.
So hopefully, we've inspired a few more people to drink your beer. Not that that's our objective today. It's just good to catch up and have a chat. But where can people find out more about you? You're online on the normal Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Where do people find you?
Yeah, we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We have got a holding page of a website at the moment. The new website's being built at the moment.
How long has that holding page been there, Steve?
6 months, 7 months, something like that. So it's
I go on there every now and again to get some
the reason
details.
It's been held up is that hopefully we're going to be getting a bit of a grant from the Dorset Growth Hub to help us with the building of that. So it's been held up a little bit.
So on all of those channels, they just need to type in 8 Arch. Sometimes it's numerical 8 and sometimes it's...
off the top of my head, I think I'll
put it in the notes.
I think it's 8, the digit 8. Arch Brewing on most platforms, but if you type in anyway, you'll find us on there. Yeah, we're on all the social media platforms, and we're open. If people want to message us on Facebook or any of the other platforms, and we always reply.
Great. And if they've got any brewing questions, you'll tell them to get on the forum and don't say anything stupid.
I'll tell them a little lie.
Amazing. Well, look, thank you so much for taking the time. I know how busy you are, so it's appreciated.
Thank you very much for coming down.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll do this again in a year's time and see where you're at.
When we're in the bigger unit.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you've got 18 staff. All right, nice one. Thanks, Steve.
Cheers, thank you.
Okay, there you have it. What a top gent Steve is. Hope you enjoyed our conversation. We will now be releasing new episodes of the Humans of Hospitality podcast every single week. So please go to your, iTunes or podcast provider of choice. Click on subscribe and hopefully we will automatically appear in your feed. And as I said at the start, any feedback I do want to know. This is early days. I've been thinking about this project for probably about a year. Very excited to finally get on with it. Hope you will share the journey with me, but I would love your feedback. What works well for you? What works less well? What kind of episodes do you want? What length would you want? Any kind of subjects, people you'd like me to interview? Please get in touch at Mark Cribb via Twitter and Instagram, or go to humansofhospitality.co.uk website and find the links and more information on there. Okay, thank you so much. Hopefully I will be in your earpieces or on your stereos in a week's time. Thank you.